All right, we're here live at BEMI 2023. I'm joined by 4 illustrious individuals. By the way, I'm Young Waff. Y'all can't see me, I'm doing the, the YouTube, the Vlad type interview. You can't see me, but you can. No, but anyway, I'm here. I'm joined by Taj, Shroomed, Mvlvchi, and TheRealThing. And, we're going to touch on topics that, we've brought up before, but kind of rehash them, I guess, and just general topics regarding, melee and just blackness, all of it, how it intertwines, all that stuff. I guess the first question that I want to ask y'all, and whoever wants to take the floor can, what is it like being black in America to you? Any of y'all can answer that.
Okay. All right. So for me, hasn't been as bad as you might think. So I'm from Cleveland. There's a pretty big black population there. There's also a pretty big white population there. So you know what that means. But sometimes it's hard to be comfortable. At my job, and this goes for like most jobs, I would say. I work in the IT department, and I'm the only black person in the department. And we had 2 other ones, but they ended up leaving for whatever reason. But I don't know. Sometimes it's kind of weird because, like, when I'm here, it's cool. We joke around and all that. But when I'm there, sometimes, I gotta act a little different. So it is a little weird just having to like change how you are.
Why do you think? I feel like I know this, but I'm just asking to for further context. Why do you think you feel like you need to act different when you're around non-black people?
Because you see how people are uncomfortable when even when we're just like in a group, just not really doing much, right? So you kind of don't want to give them that like feeling when you're at work or at somewhere that's important to you, because obviously we got to make money, right? We don't want somebody to make up something, come up with a reason to get us fired. And obviously it doesn't always happen like that, but the fact that it's like a threat, a possibility means that, we just want to be safe. So,
right. That's your way of like diffusing something that could go somewhere else.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
You want to go down?
Yeah, we can.
All right. So y'all might not like what I have to say, but we're not, we're not here to sugarcoat shit. From what I've been told, right? It's my first time during this circle talks or this table discussion. So I appreciate being here first and foremost. But yes, being black in America, and hold on, before I even start that, black people are hated globally. It's not just an American thing. Americans hated us the most, and so they've had, but.
Yes, that depends on where you are, honestly.
I think America would be the worst.
It's up there, though. Yeah.
I mean, because, there have been longer reigns of slavery. We have tragedies like the Holocaust and whatnot. But I mean, how unique American slavery was. They put hella thought into stripping away and complete. You know what I'm saying? So, but it's 2 things for me, right? So being black in America, it's being strong, it's being brave, it's overcoming. But also at the same time, as uncomfortable as this is, the truth is, it's also being ostracized, right? It's also being different and separate. No matter how hard we try to come together, there's always going to be that degree of separation, right? No one's going to be able to fully put themselves in our shoes, And I have a lot of white friends, Latino friends, Asian friends, whatever, and they can understand. They can do the best to understand, and we can come together on that. But at the end of the day, they can't fully know what it means, to look like us and walk down the street in this country. So.
That's a good answer, man. No, so I agree a lot with what Mvlvchi said. The degree of separation, it is like, it's kind of messed up because I also have a very mixed group of friends, and they always do their best to understand, but I know that they can never, they can hear the words, but they don't know they'll never know the feeling. I would say it's not even I feel like it's not specific things that happen to us all the time just because we're black, but you can just feel like people's kind of eyes on you. Even like, everyone knows the standard, you go into the store, they're staring at you and shit, but that extends to like everything else as well. Like you were talking about being at work and being safe. I'm like the same way. I try not to talk too much. I try not to talk too much because I don't want to say the wrong thing and just a whole bunch of shit like that. But it's more so because of the feeling that not just at work in general, that everyone's kind of expecting and waiting for you to fuck up so they can finally be like, yo, like, look, I knew it all along. Yeah, like they were gonna fuck it up. So I feel like being black in America, it is being strong amidst that, like just, yeah, instead of succumbing to it and then fucking you up. But yeah, I don't know. It's cool too though. We dope as fuck. Like it's cool. It's really cool being black. I feel like we are separated with our blackness. Yeah, not just our chicken, all our food. But I would say we have that degree of separation with, other ethnicities. But that makes us come together more. Like, I'm at work. I see another black dude. We've never spoken, but we always like just raise the fist every single time we see each other. And like, I really appreciate stuff like that, as part of being black in America. So we also have a connection from being black because we all have this shared lived experience.
Yeah, I don't have much more to add. They really touched on a lot of the same experiences, No, it's all right. I mean, the only thing I guess from my unique experience of being a bigger black person is like, the passive intimidation factor, but like people will just look at me and just be scared, like, And that's it's such an interesting experience, like just like asking like these random white spashers sometimes what they think, and they're like, oh, I'm just terrified of you. Don't even want to come talk to you. I was like, oh, damn, all right. I mean, I feel that, but but yeah, that's really it. Just kind of having to be careful, tiptoeing, walking on eggshells, because if anyone feels threatened, that's it's my life on the line, So, no, I'm done.
Okay. I remember talking to you about this, Brandon, actually, when you were living in Daly City, and you were saying some of the experiences you were having, people crossing the street and shit like that. But we were talking about how, I'm pretty social and I go up to people like strangers all the time and I talk, but I also think they're open to that because I'm not a big dude. So, I'm smiling and happy, but I was wondering if I was like 6'2" and still built, would people be like, oh, what's up, Dewan? Like, oh, nice to meet you, or would everyone be like, oh shit, Like, yeah, I think there's a lot to be said about just your straight up size making you dangerous if you're black for no reason,
Right, for sure. All right, let me get to this next question. What's the biggest like cultural difference by being black in Melee versus like being black in general, right? Like, for example, I guess I'll say like, even though like Smash or Melee specifically is very like left-leaning, very embracing. Wrong word, my bad. Very embracing to all groups. It's still like majority like white dominant, right? And like when you go into these situations, like, is there anything that just like stands out that is different than like say like a work situation around all white people, or is it just like similar experience? Just because I guess like touching on you guys being like say the only black person in your work field, like how is it different compared to being like the only black person like at a tournament or something like that?
Anyone?
I could.
Huh?
Yeah. Go ahead.
All right, so yeah. So for me, right, I always played with my brother. So having someone else that, he's not obviously not only black, but also my brother. So like I can just feel comfortable wherever, whatever tournament. But sometimes it's weird when, when you're trying to go to a tournament, right? Maybe you need a ride or something. And like, you kind of wondering like, should I go with them? Or do they want me to ride with them? Like, and like I said, like before, it's not necessarily like a legitimate, like, it's not always like a legitimate like fear or whatever, right? But you always like weigh the pros and cons of anything. So, like you just might feel uncomfortable. Like it might not be that they feel like a threat, right? You just might feel uncomfortable associating, with a different demographic. And it's I would say it's better though in Melee, like, than being at work, just because it's a game, right? So for me, I don't feel like I have to act a certain way so I don't get fired or something, right? So it's like more comfortable, and I do feel like people are more accepting in Smash than
more of
the
a choice
workforce.
to be there. Generally, younger people are more
right. Yeah,
open.
Younger crowd. That's a big part of it, honestly, because the younger crowd wasn't alive back when the civil rights period happened, right? Like a lot of people you work with, they might be in their 60s and 70s. They might have been out there protesting against you, like trying to get Ruby Bridges and them. Shout out to her out the schools, having Eisenhower at the step in. I just want to say I couldn't imagine going to school with the National Guard, bro. That's crazy, bro.
That is wild.
But y'all can ask.
I got an answer, but I can wait if y'all want to.
No, yeah, go for it. Yeah, go for it.
So I want to preface this by saying, so I kind of touched this on this with Phil earlier. I'm not out there lobbying for fairer laws. I'm not on the front lines fighting, right? But what I'm not going to do is put up with any of that bullshit in my personal life. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's friends, family, strangers, you want to come at me with that racist shit. I don't care if it's Melee, work, wherever we're at. I don't play it. You know what I'm saying? We're going to have a problem. I'm not going to just shy away. But when it comes to Melee, kind of a tangent topic, I feel like, yes, it is very left-leaning, like you said, and it when there's push, it goes both ways, so it really does bring out some closeted, bigoted people sometimes that no longer, you know what I'm saying, making Mike User 1234 on Twitter, all these burner accounts, it's a nigga that's, you know what I'm saying, like, bro, and the Melee community is kind of an escape. I feel like, a lot of people can relate to that, and it's like, I'm not really trying to deal with, I just want to turn up, have a good time, and play some game, you know what I'm saying, but yeah, again, whether it's Melee, this, that, or the other, I expect everyone to have, be able to act cordial enough to, what I'm saying, just be an adult. It's not that hard to be a good person. Even if you were, growing up in some backwoods, thinking whatever, it's really not that hard to like keep shit to yourself and don't cause problems. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, even if you're fucked up, keep it to yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's what I do.
I feel that. I would say, yeah, Melee is super accepting overall, but that can also be a problem because people don't have to be racist or fucked up to do racist and fucked up things. And actually, I had that. Yeah. So this past Genesis, I've been growing my hair out and shit, and so I had braids. I had, 2 singles in the front, and people would compliment my hair. Oh, Shroomed, like, I love your new hair. And then a few of them would just grab my braid and just like twirl it. And so I used to let it go because like I knew they meant no offense, but I didn't actually call them out. Maybe I should have, but I would gently but firmly grab their hand and just move it off of my hair and then continue the conversation going. If I did that to you, I was basically saying, like, thank you, but don't touch my fucking hair, That's it, basically. I wasn't mad, but so I would say, like, in the Melee community, people are accepting and, they're mostly not fucked up, but there'll be situations like that. Out of ignorance. It's not out of, malice, but that's still a problem in and of itself, There's always more to learn, even if you're not like on the fucking, you got your KKK hoodie at home or something. Like that doesn't mean you still can't be racist and like doing racist things. But as a whole, the Melee community has been fucking awesome. I haven't had any real like specific experiences that made me feel like an outsider at all. But I also feel like I've spent you know, not trying to flex, by the way. I feel like I've been known as a good player first, and then like a black player second. But I was just so I've heard a couple random stories from other people, but I haven't experienced anything in the Melee community aside from the hair shit.
Yeah, I think what's really interesting about Melee and fighting games in general is that they're played on consoles. So the barrier to entry, especially for minorities, is a lot different. Like, so we're gonna see a lot more, black people and other minority groups that often don't have like the same funds to like play League of Legends or something. They don't have a PC. And that's why we see so many black fighting game players and Smash players, but we don't really see that in Counter-Strike or League of Legends. Like I know one black League of Legends player that's pro, right? Yeah, that's it. But Melee, yeah, we can name so many, and fighting games like they're iconic, like legends, and I think that's what like part of what makes Melee like kind of an escape in that sense. It's like, yeah, we can go and we all like, regardless of like what our backgrounds are, we're all sharing the same game, the same passion for the same thing, and that's a little bit different than the real world where there are barriers to entry. Like, oh, you can't get in with those shoes, man. Yeah, like you can't like that. Yeah, like it costs more than what everyone else would be wearing in a club, and yet like no, because they think that you're gonna do something, and it's like you can't exist in these spaces unless you conform to them. You can't be yourself.
All right, I guess I'll chime in. I guess for me, I think the biggest difference, like with just being black in the Melee scene, was like people were nice and cool, but it was just like culture shock. Like the things that I feel like other groups worried about, like I never thought about, you know what I mean? Like different anxieties, I just feel like being black, you kind of, there's a point, I feel like you especially like black men sometimes, I mean black women especially, but you're just always on edge to an extent because like it's kind of volatile, like anything can just happen. And I feel like they just don't have some of those anxieties. And especially like, it was like first time I was around like a bunch of like white people like en masse. Like I've always like been around white people or had white friends, but they would always be like in a group of like black and Mexican kids growing up. That's like kind of what I grew up around. So just being around like only white people was like, it kind of just tricked me out on like how their foundations were. It was kind of like culture shock. Like Melee kind of put me onto that aspect of like just either like white or Asian culture, like just like the school heavy type stuff that these other groups will focus on, and like careers and stuff, like those were like thought differently from my view. Just because like growing up, it's not to say like I didn't have friends and family that went to school and were passionate about things, but just how we went about it was just different. I would see like certain friends of mine where like them getting an A is like just the standard, which was crazy to me. My mom would like be jumping up and down if I got a straight A. So like stuff like that, like just really like opened my eye to how like okay, like being black is like unique. I never really thought about like my blackness until I wasn't around it much. Yeah. Then it really was just like, oh, okay, like damn, like
so much bigger and shit.
Right, like you said, the intimidation factor, the threats, or just like not just negative discrimination, but even positive discrimination too. Just like
how to dance, this and that,
like yeah, just like hey man, you can dance, you can play basketball, like stuff like that. It just kind of opened my eyes at how like people perceive us as a whole, and the fact that I think it's one thing if I just had these experiences, but like literally like every black person I know like has similar experiences, and then it just had me thinking,
Now that you brought that up, I've always said shout out to Sheridan, Dr. Z. He's the reason that I went to college, because I was at a tournament and we're like just playing Tetris or something in the corner. And I find out he's getting his PhD. And at the time, like when I was young, I got good grades, I got straight A's, but then I like got more of a social life in high school, so I started getting worse grades and kicking it with people who wanted to ditch class and everything. And so I was kind of like going off what I was doing before, and I didn't really plan on going to college at that time, but then I'm playing Tetris with Sheridan, talking to him, and he's getting a PhD in physics, and I'm like, this motherfucker who I'm beating in Tetris right now is getting a PhD. Like, that's a real thing in real life that people do. And so after that inspired me to like get back on my shit and go to school and all that. So I guess, I met him through Melee. So right. Melee, like you were saying, I started thinking about things differently because of the people I was exposed to through Melee.
Right. No, shout out to Sheridan. I guess another thing too, I'll point out, not to talk about myself because it's about y'all, but I think the biggest difference was like growing up, I always had family in and out of prison, right? And I feel like, I'm sure y'all have had these experiences, right? Shout out to my grandmother, shout out to my cousin Rico. We would like, we had to bail them out. And, I was like, we bring that up and like that just was like, what?
Yeah.
Like they couldn't fathom it. And then like, that's when I realized like, oh yeah, this is like some like not only just like a racial barrier, but in some ways finances, just the anxieties were just different. And it took me like a while to really like not grasp why, but just like really understand how it affected me. And I guess those are like cultural differences in Melee that I've learned. But I guess I'll say this to close this out. I don't want to keep y'all here all day. What is your biggest takeaway from BEMI, like this tournament itself? Like what is the biggest thing that just like about this tournament as a whole, especially this one being in person, like what stands out to you?
I came here to kick it with the niggas and have a good time. I'm not gonna lie. Exactly. Like, never been to Atlanta. It's really nice. Just we're being in a space where we don't have that degree of separation. It's just like it's a tournament where we can all just relate with our blackness with each other very closely.
I guess I'll add this question too. Is being the majority at a tournament like? Is it strange to you guys, or is it a good thing, or?
I mean,
I think it's important for what I'm saying. I think it's great, especially to what I'm saying. Those that aren't as educated, right? And those like maybe not out of malice, but out of ignorance, will do some shit like touch your hair. So things like this is it's a great way to open people's eyes. But yeah, on a personal level, like my nigga said, it feels so good not having to worry about like am I getting judged? The eyes on me? Nah, I'm chilling, I'm relaxing. I haven't been this comfortable at a tournament I think ever. So yeah.
Yeah, so I like that it's in person because I can't stand online, first of all. And so it's a different feel, and it's also nice when, because like because we be in Discord, right?
Yeah.
So like I like talking shit. So the thing is, I don't really talk shit when I don't really talk shit when I play the match. But I will talk like just when we just sitting around or playing friendlies or something, right?
Right.
And it's nice to be able to do it in person because you get to like show your personality, right? Like you're not just sitting there just like poker face, like just
I feel like normally if you talk shit to people, especially like black people, don't understand like just our culture, how like you operate, they would think that you're like. Being insulting. And
the thing is, like, I feel like too, men black, like you kind of like ready for the shit talk too, right? Like most of the time, like black people, like they're less likely to get in their feelings when you talk shit, because this nigga will get you, and this nigga will get you in your feelings because you let them beat you, bro. They just gonna talk shit, bro.
What? Okay.
And niggas be capping in person too. That's what I'm saying. But yeah, it's cool, man. Like Malachi said. I mean, I don't think I've ever felt this comfortable at a tournament. Like I can just do my own thing because. I mean, it's harder to be like this when you're not just around black people,
Right. So, no, that's for sure.
Yeah.
What about Taj? You want to chime in?
I don't think I have anything to add.
Is this y'all's first time ever being like at a majority black event for like Melee?
Melee, yeah. It's never mostly black.
Not possible.
Yeah. All right, well then.
There's that one tournament where I just played against the CPU when I was a kid, and I was the only black person.
You were the only person playing.
I was a super majority.
Yeah. you were 100% to 0. But yeah, I guess we could close out here. Any closing statements y'all want to say? Again, thank y'all for doing this. You know.
So thanks to you, Brandon, for like getting everything together while moving to Cleveland, bro. This man is moving across the country and running a tournament on the same time, bro. Like that's and then he was traveling to tournaments for like the last 3-4 months, just going back and forth, bro. Just I don't know how he do it. Shout out to Phil. Vish for showing up, all the non-black people for being involved and not being uncomfortable, so.
Phil Nolan, by the way, I think they think you're talking about
Phil Nolan. Phil Nolan. Yeah.
I had to just
Phil Nolan's behind the scenes running a lot of stuff, helping record stuff and all that. So I appreciate everybody. But yeah, I like that everybody's into it. Everybody's helping out. The locals are driving us around, giving us recommendations on food and all that other stuff, So I appreciate all that.
Yeah, shout out to Atlanta Melee. Got any last words?
Yeah, no, I just want to say thank you again.
Thank you, man.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
For real, Brandon.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
All right, well, I guess we signing off, man. Again, BEMI 2023, man. Thank y'all and much love, man. Y'all have a good one.